With only rain on radar at the moment affecting some of the fishermen right at the eastern tip of the Biloxi Marsh. Some ongoing thunderstorms had some brief little downpours across parts of the metro area earlier. Didn't last for very long, enough to briefly cool things off, but then it turns steamy and sticky with the sunshine coming right back out, and we're right back under mostly sunny skies, and that's been the case for the day today and for the last several days. 94 degrees was our high today, well above the average and getting closer and closer to those records, which will be in jeopardy by this weekend and next week. A little low cloudiness out over the CBD at the moment, 91. The heat index is 100 degrees. That's on the low side of what is to come over the next several days, as the heat actual temperatures will be increasing and thus sending the heat indices well above 105 degrees and maybe starting to get into the more dangerous realm as we head toward the end of the weekend and early next week. Current temperatures are in the lower mid 90s for most of us, with dew points in the 70s. Again, as we go back in time, last couple of weeks dew points had been 60, 70, so not really yet into the oppressive humidity. Dew points well into the low mid 70s and even at times upper 70s. That is the oppressive summertime humidity. Winds have been light and out of the south, so it has been fairly stagnant as well. More active pattern of storms to our north and east. We are under the influence of the upper high. Now, there are times where the upper high might position itself to allow some of these little disturbances to move our way, like we saw yesterday. But overall, for the next 7 days, the pattern is going to keep the more active storms kind of moving up and around us. And you can see the more active thunderstorms as we get into the day tomorrow, late Wednesday, early on Thursday, more storminess moving kind of up and around us. There are some indications we could get such a disturbance to move our way late on Thursday. Now, this model not really bringing much onto the North Shore, more Mississippi. However, other models are a little bit more aggressive, with maybe some late Thursday thunderstorms rolling onto the North Shore and in Mississippi. Again, the timing and exact placement is going to be kind of key to that forecast, because if the upper high is in such a position that they stay more to our east, then our area sees absolutely no rainfall. Through the night tonight, there will still be a risk of severe weather. The North Shore is included, but I really don't believe we're going to see anything north of the lake. As we head into tomorrow, again, the storm track keeps most of these storms moving up and around us. So a high risk of severe weather across parts of Louisiana, but more so central Mississippi, central and southern Alabama. And then on Thursday, again, we could see that little disturbance move across parts of the North Shore and in Mississippi, but the model's not in great agreement with exactly where that little complex may move. Our weather is strictly driven by the upper high. That is dominating our forecast. Again, at times we might be in a position where a few of these little disturbances are able to move overhead, and other times the high is in a position to keep us hot. That is the trend going forward, and many, many days we will be flirting with records. I do start painting into the upper 90s for the actual temperature, so you figure the heat indices will be well above 105 to 110 and starting to get into the criteria for maybe some heat watches, or excuse me, warnings or advisories. A heat advisory, that's one that we tend to see a lot. That is where the air temperature is 103 degrees. That's not going to happen, but a heat index over 108, that is certainly possible. But also the possibility being mentioned by the Weather Service of issuing some excessive heat warnings. That would be where the heat index is over 113 degrees, and that is very much possible. Again, I've got that mention of some storms possible late Thursday, early Friday, mainly on the North Shore and Mississippi. Otherwise, a very dry and hot trend, including Father's Day, continuing into early next week.